So after a handful of covers and features with Car Culture Lux and Old School Rods magazine, which is put out by Murpho's Publishing or Murpho's Rod and Custom out of Austin, Texas, to claim that this one means the most is a pretty big statement. But here's why. So a few years ago, I was out to supper with the homies and Piercing Paige, and we were talking about photos or photo shoots, and Paige mentioned that it was a dream of hers to be featured in Car Culture Lux magazine and be photographed by their photographer at the time. I don't know if I manifested that or what, but fast forward a couple years and now I'm working with Car Culture Lux magazine. And that conversation had stuck with me, and I knew Paige could model at the level required for that magazine. So that was a huge goal of mine, is to get Paige featured in this magazine, because Paige had supported my photography career. And so this was my way of trying to give back a little bit. I made all the necessary introductions and showed the magazine Page, and they were like, oh yeah, she'd be great. The next step was to basically pair her with a vehicle. And I had a Rolodex of vehicles to shoot for the magazine. Started going through it, and there was this really cool purple shoebox convertible, and that's what we ended up pairing with Page. So the next step is you have to get wardrobe approved, and you have to stick within, there's certain brands that you have to stick within and things like that, and then lining up hair and makeup, all at a magazine quality level. So Paige took care of that, got wardrobe approved, which was a lavender colored dress, scheduled hair and makeup, figured out all the logistics so that myself, the car owner, Paige, and hair and makeup could all make this happen on the same day. Now sometimes this is how it goes with old cars. When the first time we went to do the shoot, the shoebox had broken down and couldn't make the shoot. Rescheduled for a couple months later. When that time came up, turns out the shoebox couldn't make it again. As you can imagine, with all the logistics that go into this type of shoot, we did not want to reschedule with everyone again. It was on to find another vehicle that matched the magazine's criteria and Paige's lavender dress. Now you're pretty much limited to black, white, or purple. I went back to the Rolodex, started hitting up everyone I knew to try and find a vehicle that would work, and was honestly, there was a few contenders, but honestly was coming up pretty much empty-handed. And that's when Paige sent me a photo of a Chop 50 Merc that had the bottom of it was lavender, matched her dress perfectly. This Merc I had seen at a car show a while back and had posted some photos of it, but I didn't know who owned it. The other crazy thing about this Merc is I grew up seeing this Merc at car shows when I was a kid in Grand Island, Nebraska, which is about an hour east of Kearney, where I live now. I remember this car from every cruising, every car show, and one time the Great American Race came through Grand Island, and my grandpa, my grandma, and myself went to this show, and off to the side was this Merc. This is the Merc that my grandpa used to teach me what everything was. This is what a lake pipe is. This is what titty spots are. This is what a chop is. And when you do this, it's Frenching, and it's the metalwork and blah, blah, blah. And it was dragging a plaque off from the bumper. The only problem was I had no idea who owned this vehicle. So we only had a few days to find a vehicle, and so we locked in on this Merc, went through, social media frenzy. I'm calling up my grandpa and all his buddies and every older dude I know from the area to see if they know who owns this Merc. The Merc owner was pretty much a ghost. No one knew who owned it. No one had a phone number. No one had an address. But a buddy of mine named Ron Finning came through. So Ron's boys basically interned at the body shop where the owner of this Merc worked. And so he went down, got an address, went and found the owner of this Merc that turned out to be named Jack, went and found Jack and told him that a photographer was looking for him to feature his car in the magazine. Now it turns out Jack is an older dude, doesn't text, he's not on social, none of that kind of stuff. So to find him was a huge challenge. Ron got me the phone number and I called Jack. There was also someone who saw my post looking for this car on social media, recognized the car from her friend's wedding. Turns out her friend was the daughter-in-law of Jack. It would all kind of happen at the same time, where Jack's daughter-in-law and then Ron found him. And so I was getting, we finally found Jack. And turns out Jack was free on the day that we needed to do this shoot. Seems excited, and so I meet up with Jack. I'd never met Jack before, even though his car is like in all my childhood memories. We just kind of called an audible, agreed that this car seemed like it would fit the magazine's criteria, and we went ahead and did the shoot. And we shot the car in a spot in Grand Island that I had been wanting to shoot at for so long. It was by an elevator that was spitting out corn dust because it was during harvest. You know, you would do a few photos and you'd have to wipe all the corn dust off. And you'd do a few photos and you'd have to wipe all the corn dust off. But at that point, we were making it happen. And then Paige showed up from her professional hair and makeup appointment with Savannah, aka Miss Peachy Marie. We shot with her. We popped the drone up, we shot with lights, we shot with natural light. We kept Jack down there probably way longer than he wanted to be, and we got the shoot done. Even Ron showed up to hang out with Jack during the shoot. So a couple days after the shoot, I called Jack, get the full scoop on what went into this car, which was like kind of a dream for me to hear how this car got built after seeing it everywhere when I was a kid. And then included a little feature on Paige as well in the article. Got everything submitted. Cool. But then we learned that the magazine was cutting back on model features due to reader feedback, and a few issues had come out with no models in them whatsoever. And so that was kind of a bummer. After everything that went into this shoot, we weren't gonna make this dream happen. The car from my childhood and Paige's dream, it was kind of squashed at that point. We accepted that and moved on. So then CKD issue 112 comes out. I start getting texts about, hey, nice work in the magazine, things like that. And I see, hey, they printed the Merc with Paige in this magazine. And so I was stoked to see models back in the magazine for one. And then for two, that Paige is in the magazine. We got it done. We got the feature. We got everyone's dreams came true. To see this car in print shot in front of the P-View elevators in downtown Grand Island was pretty surreal for me, just having grown up around those elevators. And you know, it's by an underpass. There's not a lot of underpasses around here, but Grand Island has like 2 or 3 of them. So I made sure everyone involved with this shoot knew that the magazine had featured this. So I made sure Ron, who made this shoot happen, knew, and got a hold of Jack and got a hold of Paige and made sure they had their eyes out for this magazine. The magazine sends people magazines when they're featured in it as well. So everyone got their cover, and Jack was stoked, to see someone who is, his age look at this magazine, see the car that he built, get so excited to see these photos and to see Paige with the car. That's such a good feeling as a photographer. So that's why, even with all the other magazine covers and features that sent me across the country and met so many cool people and everything, that's the reason this magazine might mean the most. It's a model that supported me when I was first getting started and throughout all the way up to now. It's a car that I grew up seeing as a kid, and my good buddy Ron was instrumental in making this happen. Plus, hair and makeup by Miss Peachy Marie. So many worlds collided to make this shoot happen. If you want this issue, the best way to get it is to call or email Merfolk's Publishing, Car Culture Lux, Old School Rods. Just message them, call them, and ask them for issue 112 of Car Culture Lux, because you want to see the 50 Merc and Piercing Page in print.